Colombo University Faculty of Science Alumni Association, CUFSAA, proudly presents a distinguished speaker series to uplift the knowledge of aspiring students and budding scientists in the Faculty of Science at the University of Colombo and Sri Lanka as well. In this series of lectures, CUFSAA features accomplished scientists and key opinion leaders in different science streams to present the advancement in their field of expertise. This seminar series is a collaborative effort between CUFSAA and the Colombo University Faculty of Science. Welcome to the Distinguished Speaker Series of CUFSAA.
Hello, everyone. So good morning to those who are from the United States or the Eastern Hemisphere. Good afternoon to those who are from Sri Lanka, and good evening to Jayeni and her friends from the West, the Eastern Hemisphere, actually. So good morning to the Western Hemisphere. So today we are going to initiate the third speech, the third talk from the CUFSAA Distinguished Speaker Series. The speaker will be Dr. Jayeni Hiti-Bandaralage. She is a postdoctoral research fellow from the Center for Horticultural Science, Queensland Alliance for Agriculture and Food Innovation from the University of Queensland, Australia. So before we give a small introduction about her, let me remind you about the speech today. So after the speech, we will have a Q&A session for 15 minutes. You can, during the speech, you can type your questions on the Zoom chat window or YouTube links as well. You can watch the YouTube live streaming, which is in the comment section. You can ask questions in the comment section in the YouTube link. You don't need to type those questions. You don't need to wait until the end to type those questions. That's just a kind reminder of what the situation is here. So without going into those details, let's give a brief introduction about Dr. Hiti-Bandaralage. Dr. Hiti-Bandaralage. So when actually, she's a batchmate from me from the University of Colombo, Faculty of Science. So what I did was, when I got the flyer for the talk, I put a post on Facebook about saying that, what did Professor Anurakumara say about entrepreneurs like Jayeni? So then people ask, did Anurakumara talk about Jayeni? So I said, yeah. So if you go and see Professor Uttumange Anurakumara, who is the former Dean of Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce from the University of Colombo, in his famed talks in TV, he said that the entrepreneurs are great. So we don't need what the term great means. So for example, there is when you talk about King Alexander, we call him Alexander the Great. So we have someone who is great to talk in our lectures today. So Jayeni, who is an entrepreneur, has kindly agreed to extend us the pleasure of her company today on the third talk of the CUFSAA Distinguished Speaker Series. With an academic and professional dossier, which is second to none, she's the founder of the STC Biotech in Sri Lanka. Through STC Biotech, she was able to give several internships to students of NITA through University of Sri Jayarathne. Today, she's here to share her challenging but successful journey. So without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Jayeni Hiti-Bandaralage. Jayeni, the meeting is all yours.
Thank you, Neranjake. First, let me share my screen. I hope everything is clear to everybody on the slides front. Thank you for that great introduction. I'm not sure whether I'm successful yet, but I identify myself as an entrepreneur as well as a scientist, like a dual career. And yes, we are batchmates, and it's a great pleasure for me to present to you some of my work. I'm often being contacted and given opportunities to talk about my science, but it's very rare for me to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, something that I really want to be my only career in life. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share some of my experience, very early experience really, about my journey towards an entrepreneurial career. Today, I actually put this title, Paradise on the Iceberg, Entrepreneurship for Innovators, because I knew that I'm going to be talking to a lot of academics here. My initial contact with the organization revealed that it is mostly, people who are from academic background. And I think people in the academic background do not identify the entrepreneurship as a paradise. And it is really an iceberg, but you see that paradise on top of it. And you will really only feel it once you climb on top of this iceberg. So let's see what is my journey like. But today I'm actually wanting to, like, my first aim in this talk really is to sound very simple. Entrepreneurship is a really big word, and it is rather intimidating for people. And I want to break these complexities, and I want to make sure that, it's a reality, and it is simple. It's not, as big as it sounds. And I really want to feel whoever, listening to me, could be a professor, could be a undergraduate, or maybe in high school, but still, try to plant that seed in their hearts, that there is this possibility for every one of us. And if we have an idea, and if we are trying to make that journey a success, little steps that, can take, and maybe my, experience over the last, actually it's a decade, might help somebody to, spark that little thing in their life, and then really flourish and blossom it into a beautiful bunch of roses. So really want to talk about this big 16-letter word, so intimidating to me at the beginning. The dictionary says entrepreneurship is the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on a financial risk in the hope of profit. However, when I really talking to people, there are three things always spark, in their, straight away coming out of them. Either they are intimidated, either they are amazed or surprised. Most of the time it is amazement and surprise, because not a lot of people have gone through the journey. And then often I hear it's complex, it's a huge idea, big idea. People say like, oh, it's a big idea that you need to have to start up a business. And often I hear the word capital, business model, technology, financials, market, that comes, in the latter part of your, vocabulary. Profit and loss, that is a term which always comes like in the mid sort of terms. Risk, that is the popping thing always I hear whenever I start talking about entrepreneurship or business ventures. However, so far in my experience, every single time when I mention about business, when I mention about that I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or I am an entrepreneur, the expression comes out as wow. So it is something that everybody really cherish, everybody really look up to, everybody really, would appreciate and respect. And I think it really needs that, sort of respect and identification, how big that is. But this big word really makes people not wanting to take that journey, because it sounds very complex. And I really think that it should be a very simple 2-3 letter word. Somebody will come up with a better word for this this particular, something that's setting up a business and making a profit or loss, or managing a business, that will always people feel embracing, rather than just repelling away. What comes within the word entrepreneurship for me as an entrepreneur? Number one is profit, and the other one is risk. And I think the most important thing, if you keep this risk and profit aside, is the innovative strategy. So this is where we actually can make this risk minimum and maximize the profit, or get some profit. So it is all about making ourselves put into this strategy, or innovate some methods and innovate some ideas within you, and a creation of a pathway in order to minimize the risk and generate some profit. I thought that at the initial stage I should really show some intimidating facts about startups, or people who are starting businesses. Generally speaking, constantly 90% of startups close within within a few years' time. But when you closely look at the statistics, in the first year, about 21% of startups will close down itself. And it increases with time. And in a decade's time, out of 100 startups, 70 will close down. So this is actually a really intimidating fact as well. That is why people always talk about this risk, because people start businesses, or people do their startups, ventures, generating capital or with venture capital, but somehow they really don't deliver the expected outcomes. And there are numerous reasons for failure, and I thought that I will share these statistics with you. I really don't like to show statistics worldwide, but I thought that this is actually a good thing to share. The Startup Ecosystem Index ranking. So it's always important to look at what is the ecosystem for a startup. Where are we going to start my business? What is the demographic I am looking at? And when it comes to countries, you can see with no doubt, with lots of support and with lots of parameters which are really advantageous for flourishing businesses, United States is the country if you want to have a startup, because it has a highest index ranking for startup ecosystems, which is a very healthy country to start up a business. It's a huge market, so the businesses normally thrive in there, but it doesn't mean that there are no failures. But the index they are in the top rank. And over the time, when you compare this index ranking, it changes depending on the situations, the dynamics of the markets, and different factors. For an example, like COVID-19, the indexing changes, and different countries change their position in this indexing. Luckily, I'm in one of the countries, which is Australia, which is in a really high ranking when it comes to ecosystem indexing, which has a really good, which is a really good place to start up businesses as well. Some countries do change their position, but some don't. Like United Kingdom, United States, Israel, Canada, they're really very solid ecosystems when it comes to startup businesses. When we talk about entrepreneurship, even though it's a really big word, we actually talk individually about an entrepreneur. It is actually the starting point for this is one individual. It is always the case. It doesn't matter whether it's a group of people discussing something, but there will be always one person who initiated. So it actually starts from one single person when it comes to entrepreneurship. I put these two pictures here. This is Babu, you see here on the left side, where he's a vendor, or a road vendor for some snacks in India. And on the other side, a well-known, a billionaire, in my times, one of my favorite people to, get inspired, Bill Gates. Do we accept both these as entrepreneurs or not? In my eyes, both these are entrepreneurs. They do have their ideas. They do have their own ventures. They have started on their own. And they are the employer. However, the respect, the identification, the bubble that we give them is different. But it really doesn't matter when it comes to the real entrepreneur, because it's all about that unique journey. That's all about that individual person. It is all about my ways. If I am the entrepreneur, I think it is my way. And I am not really worried about what other people think about my business. It is all about the way I want it to be. So it is actually an individual goal, individual's expectation, individual's aspiration, individual's limitations and circumstances when it comes to an entrepreneurial career or a business venture. I thought because I'm talking to this the group of people who are really thinking about their careers, thinking about their academic and professional, do we really think out of the box and try and identify our different strengths, maybe out of the academia, maybe something completely different to what we are doing at the moment, but the skill within you is to put into an entrepreneurial arena. But it is the question for the individual to decide, and that is what I'm trying to tell in this little time that I've got, how and why you should be thinking of a pathway in a different way. And it is also good to see whether you are one. Maybe you don't know that whether you are a one, or if somebody wants to check, like, okay, am I an entrepreneur? Am I fitting into this criteria? There was this picture circulating in social media, and this was actually first published in National Geographic. This goat, the mountain goat in Israel, jumping from one cliff to another. And the moment I looked at this picture, I saw an entrepreneur. So I thought that, oh, this is, everybody's talking about this picture in a different way. Everybody's talking that, okay, how much pressure this person has to jump and take this risk, how much, the circumstance, and people innovate and people do things when they are under a lot of pressure. But I never saw that in this picture. What I saw is the skill. What I saw was the confidence in this animal. What I saw, trust in him. What I saw was how strong his beliefs are that he is going to succeed. And I don't think this little animal here see any risk. He's completely confident that he can jump from this cliff to another. And when I went into the picture and excavated what is all about and what this animal actually doing, and the photographer has written, this animal has been jumping from cliff to cliff, and it is not one single jump, but he was very joyfully jumping from one cliff to another with no whatsoever risk associated with it, or with full trust that he is joyfully jumping from cliff to cliff, as if that he is enjoying his journey. So I think it is like an entrepreneur. So the confidence and competitiveness. So it is like the confidence that we have within us, the belief that we have within us is make, the journey much easy. Also competitiveness. I often see, I am, linked with some entrepreneurs all around the world, and I see how competitive these entrepreneurs are in their normal lives. For an example, if you are on a treadmill next to another person, doesn't matter whether you know that person or not, you are always going to be like running a bit fast and trying to be a bit competitive, even though there is no relation to that other person, and you want to show that you are much better. Also, I often see that I'm sorry to say this, entrepreneurs are workaholics. Most people think that, oh, you are an entrepreneur, you don't need to work much harder. You are rich, you are wealthy. That's what the terms comes and tags along with the entrepreneurship. But I think they are workaholics. They work more than like 10 to 12 hours, 18 hours. And my personal experience is that. And they are very focused people. And when they set their idea or when they set their aim on something, they are really focused and very, very rarely distracted by other factors around them. Also very independent, self-motivated. You really don't want anyone else to, take a whip and come after you. You don't need anyone else setting milestones for you. You set your own milestones, and we work through it with so much enthusiasm. And the other thing I have noticed in entrepreneurs is that they're natural leaders. You really don't want to train them for leadership. They naturally stand up for themselves and stand up for others and try and initiate things like a real leader. And it has it is very helpful for an entrepreneur in a way, because that is what exactly you're going to do. You're going to lead your enterprise initially all by yourself, being the leader, and then leading another team to come to your pathway and try and make them achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So the other good quality that I've seen them is they are constant learners. They, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their position, they are constant learners. They want to learn more and more about different things, increase their increase their skill sets constantly. The other two things, the passion and the innovation. So if you talk to 100 entrepreneurs, it is highly unlikely you find somebody who are not passionate. They all, most of the time, get into the entrepreneurship is because they are so passionate about what they do, what they believe on, and they are constant innovators. It is very, very hard to become an entrepreneur if you're not innovative enough, because innovation has to be there every single step of the way in building a business, starting from thinking about it, how to start, starting about how to start a little operation, and even to the extent of how to get people to stay in your enterprise. So you need to come up with new strategies, new ideas, innovate methods, and if it is a technical thing, innovate solutions, innovate like different techniques, technologies, in order to make your enterprise run as well as thrive. So if you find that you have these qualities in you, some of the qualities in you, if you don't have some of these qualities, they can be acquired. I would really want to say that when I started, I found myself having a few of these qualities, and then I had to work around and do so many things to learn other characters or qualities to myself, so that I can be successful in the future. And it is a good question to ask, and it is because that I'm going to talk to you about how and why I did this. It's a good question to ask why I became one. So there were 4 reasons why I became an entrepreneur. One is the financial independence. From very childhood, as I remember, when I was in grade 6, 7, I really wanted to become financially independent, because I saw my mom and dad both were working, full-time working parents, and they were well off. They bought things all by themselves, and they were wealthy enough to supply everything that I want and all that. And I thought, oh, it's very nice to spend your own money, spend what I earn for myself. So this really started when I was in grade 7, 8 that time. My mom used to give me 20 rupees every day for school. So after about a couple of months, because I had to go all by myself by school, like, the public transportation, taking the bus to the school. So I attended Anula Vidyalaya Nugegoda. I realized that, oh, I'm getting 20 rupees, and my mom very kindly packed me my lunch and breakfast as well. And at that time it was 2 rupees for the bus fare to school. And I was left with a lot of some money in my hand, and I thought, oh, some of my friends are taking the school bus to the school. If you buy if I can buy a season ticket that we call those days, it would cost me just 7 rupees for the whole month. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is like so much saving. And I sat down one day at dinner with my mom, and I said, like, how about you give me 500 rupees every month, and you don't need to supply me with any of this, pencils, pens. I will take care of everything. And it was like a bargain for her, because she will pay 100 rupees extra, but then she doesn't need to worry about extra money buying me this and that for the school supplies. And she very happily agreed. And what I did was, I bought that season ticket, and I saved a lot of money. So my financial independence, trying to become financially independent, started at that age. And I started budgeting every single penny that I spend, and I knew exactly at the end of the year how much I can save, what can I do. And some months I didn't want mom or dad to buy any of my Aurudu clothes or New Year clothes for any birthday gifts, because I was saving money, and I knew where I was. So I think it is an important lesson for us to do some financial planning and look at the finances from the early stages. I know that there are a lot of people listening to me have kids, so it's an important aspect for a person to look at. Where are we going to be at a certain age, and what is your capacity, so that we can plan ahead. So that practice have helped me a lot in establishing or starting my business, and I will explain you how later on. And then seeing the opportunity. And this actually happened when I was in the University of Colombo. So there was this amazing program at the University of Colombo. I was reading my bachelor's of special degree in plant biotechnology. And for those who were doing special degrees in Department of Plant Science, University of Colombo, they had a program initiated where we can go and do an industry training program for about a month or two at that time. And at that time, in my eyes, very unluckily, because I wanted to really study genetics, molecular biology, plant breeding side, but I was chosen by drawing lots to go to these two big tissue culture companies in Sri Lanka. That is where I really inculcated this idea, the opportunity in this sector. So I saw the entire I was actually very lucky to touch base in two completely different operations, different scales of tissue culture operations in Sri Lanka, highly commercial, international business. And I was very fortunate to look into all the areas of that business, from starting point, procurement, to purchasing, to end of the supply chain. So it was an eye-opening experience for me, and I really saw, okay, there is this opportunity for students, or like for my background, to start up a business. But at that time, for my eyes, it was a really, really expensive opportunity. And I was really intimidated by that. Or it is very expensive. It needs about, like, say, to setting it up, initial cost at least, about 10 million rupees at that time. So, as an undergraduate, it's a huge amount of money. And that little seed plant was planted in my head, but still for all, it was rather very intimidating at that stage. The third reason, and this is all after I graduated, after I became, like, a normal employee in companies. I really wanted to work on my own teams and own terms. I was working in quite different, settings, even in Sri Lanka, even in Australia. I soon realized my capacities and the way I work is something very different to the settings. And most of the time, I ended up with a lot of frustration. I had a lot of boundaries, and I was not giving me enough space to do everything that I wanted to do. So I was actually wanting to work on my own terms and do everything that I love doing. Also, I was a big believer of creating opportunity. I have a really big passion to create opportunities for people, especially coming from a very middle class background. I really wanted to create, a lot of opportunities. I see myself as an undergraduate didn't have much opportunities at that time. I saw, it was very difficult to take on a good career pathway, create, job opportunities or things like that. So I really wanted to create some opportunity for the community, and give it back, what we actually scooped from our free education system or our societies. As we know, like, Sri Lanka is like a very, very cohesive, very linked society, and we absorb a lot of things from the society, and it is, to giving it back is the way that, I wanted to create some opportunity there, starting up a company. And later in my career, about a couple of years ago, I came across this diagram. So this is called ikigai, and this is in Japan, the Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. I'm not going to explain this, but if you are very inquisitive, you can read a lot more about this. This shows every single thing that you find, and you will find yourself somewhere in this little diagram. Actually speaking, the middle is the ikigai. That is the satisfaction, or all this collision of these things to make a person who's a happy person, with passion, mission, vocation, and profession. And you will be a, person who has experience, like, for a reason for being. And I really encourage you to go look this up and read a bit more. It's a very interesting concept, and it really, in a nutshell, shows what it is, you as an individual, and place you there, and show you where to go. Next, I would really like to give my personal experience of where to start, and what it takes, and what is the pathway. And this is going to be all my personal experience. This will be different from person to person. Where to start, and this is the hardest bit, the thinking process, which is really a crazy journey, and a lot of things going in your head, and have no clarity of whatsoever. But the first place to start is to look at yourself and think what is within you, what are your strengths. That will really simplify the things, and you will know that, okay, I have this particular strength, and it is better to do it this way. And the second thing is, once you discover what is yourself and what are your strengths, then you apply, okay, where am I going to fit? What industry am I going to fit? And clearing out, okay, getting some knowledge about this industry that you're going to, step in, will help you a lot. then the next phase will be gathering the knowledge and technology know-how. So even though that you have some skill sets within you to sit within this industry, you will see so much of knowledge gaps when you become an entrepreneur. So you have to go after the knowledge, fill those gaps, acquire the technologies, if you want to, or link with people that, have those technologies, and try and clear up that area where you are, the gray areas that you are not very clear about. That will set the scene, and you will have an idea of where to start. Okay, have a clear little picture. Okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how the things are going to be. So here I'm going to talk about the industry that I am in. So global biotechnology industry, it is the, work associated with living organisms or molecular biology, cellular techniques, and develop the products or services used in agriculture, food industry, and medical production. So it is a huge industry that I was actually going to step in. When it comes to industry products and services, my entrepreneurial journey has been really focusing on industrial technologies, agriculture, and environment technologies. That is where it sits. And then when it comes to the particular industry activity, it is all about cell, tissue culture, and engineering, producing pharmaceuticals, that area. So that is, the the growing industries in the world at the moment. So these are the most developing industries or activities in a biotechnology industry world. The opportunities in tissue culture. So I looked into so many different things that we can do in tissue culture. When I talked about the gaps, so I was really, competent in many things when it comes to tissue culture, but I soon realized there are so many things that we can do within tissue culture. So it is very important when you're stepping into industry, the choice that you make has vast array of things that you can cater, especially at the inception, because you're going to anyway struggle at the early stages. I'm going to say that anyway struggle, that is because you need to find a market, you need to develop your technology. At the same time, you need to develop the business, you need to retain your employees. So it is a bit of a struggle. So it will be much easier if you can cater into many different things. And in that way, it will become a revenue generation area. Even the little things together will help you to survive the harder times, especially the initial few years in the business. So tissue culture sector, it is involved in the clonal propagation sector, which is a $1 billion industry worldwide, and cell culture bioreactor systems, which is again a huge $1 billion industry. And it is also applicable for conservation, rescue of plant species, also in genetic engineering, gene editing, mutational breeding, polyploid development. You see that we talk about all these beautiful indoor plants. It's a huge industry itself. And then pathogen elimination to produce clean plants. As we all know, the potatoes and the strawberries we eat, they all are being cleaned using tissue culture technology. So that itself, research and development for a country is like a huge industry itself. Again, new technologies like artificial seed production for storing purposes, or to establish rainforest and things like that. It is again another aspect. Also research itself in tissue culture sector, which feeds into a lot of other things like molecular biology, in vitro culture technologies, things like that. So it is a vast area that provide a lot of platform for an entrepreneur to step in. And if you just have one or like few single projects on different aspects, it'll be enough to go through the first couple of years. So that was my thought process initially. So that is the reason I played to my strengths, and then looked at various things that I can do within this industry or using these technologies, and try to fill the gaps in my knowledge gaps in my learnings, so that I am suitable, or I can cater the whole broad spectrum of these things. And next thing is where to start. And this is again a very famous picture where the Google started. Many startups start from the garage. And for many people, it's like that. If you haven't really, tapped into, $1 million or something like that in the early times, and if you're not, trying to build up venture capitals, if you're solely funding your entrepreneurial career, then of course, that is where we will start. And we know that after how many years, from 1995 to now, where the Google is. So that is where to start. Don't bother about where to start. If you can't start it in a big office, start it at your, bedroom. That is not a huge thing. And then what really takes to set up a business? As I said earlier, knowledge of the technology, technical skills and training. As you be the individual who is driving, you really need to know, really need to know what is the in-depth core business, know-how from starting to end, what is the entire supply chain. And that knowledge really helps to keep your enterprise holding, even if no one is willing to work for you. But if you really want to, if you really don't know what is happening, then you will have to rely on a lot of people all the time, which actually can put you off for a few years. And you being very dependent is not a very healthy thing for an entrepreneur at the initial stage. Also, the other strengths like the soft skills, PR, human resource management, finance, marketing, all these are very important factors, even though they are, not your like core specialty. Knowing, learning some learnings from these aspects are also very important. I found that qualifications are really, really important in certain countries, and in some countries not that so. And building your profile as an individual when you're starting the business, simply because when you're at the inception starting a business, the business will come to you through most of the time because of your profile, because of the credibility that you have, especially in a field like where I am in. It is always about your capacity. People will, trust you that you are a, individual with capabilities and having that capacity to deliver some of the work. So building the profile is an important factor as well. The professional and personal network, utmost important thing. Again, the initial phase will always driven through this personal and professional links and networks that you build up. And I think in larger enterprises also this is the case. It is mostly the personal networks help each other to build the business. Next phase is the business modeling. Really need to know, understand, as I explained before, the market, the pathway to profit, what are the strategies that you need to, adopt into that. And a good understanding of the challenges in front of you. We really need to talk to people in that particular industry, figure out what are the problems that you will encounter in the future, have to be prepared for it. For an example, employee turnover, how to manage this sort of people. Every single enterprise or in every single operation as a business setup is different, and those different businesses have different employees, and their expectations and their status is very different. So from situation to situation, from one company to another, the way that we handle these things are going to be different. So it is very important to have a bit of a research done on this beforehand, preparing yourself for this. Planning, very, very important. Everything is important when I sound it like smart goals, setting very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and very timely goals is very important. As I said, as an entrepreneur, there is no one to set your goals for you, and we set our goals and we set our milestones and we try and achieve those milestones, and we try to get everybody following us in the enterprise to achieve those goals. And far most important thing is capital. And I see capital, I'm not sure whether this is very, very correct, but in my experience, I see knowledge, human, and finances. There are three capitals that we need to really, really secure and manage. Knowledge, of course, I've spoken about before, and then the human resource. So human resource is really, really important, especially at the inception, because if you're highly dependable on other people to get work done, definitely this is going to be very challenging. So if you're going to start something on your own and you need some hand, and if you really can't do it on your own, like in my case, I am operating my company from overseas, so you need to appoint some trustworthy, like-minded, really hardworking, not a person who really work for the salary package, but for the passion to grow with you, have similar sort of ideas to grow a business and really want to grow with you as a team member. So that is an important thing as well. Finances, and we know that we really need large amount of capital, but that a known fact, but the unknown fact is the working capital. In my experience, I find that if you put in 1/3 of capital as your assets to purchase your office or all the equipments that you want and things like that, you really need double the amount of that as the working capital to run the business, especially in the context of tissue culture or the industry that I am in, because for about 1 to 1.5 years we will not be generating most of the income, because it takes time to establish, for an example, the cultures and things like that. So the money will start flowing only after about at least a year. So that is an important factor to consider as well. So what I see, the essential is to have a dream, and you dedicate yourself to that, and then really work hard. And this work hard is not 9 to 5 work. It is always about there's no really time limit. I have times that I work till dawn on my things, and it is not really work. It is something that I work for my passion. The pathway, it changes. It is like a real maze. You change your plan, you change your path, you take your time, you take your breaks, but we never change the end goal where we want to go. And if you change that, then you will never achieve it. But if you have a fixed goal, doesn't matter wherever the pathway you go, you take your turns, and maybe you slow down a little bit, you bend wherever you want to, maybe turn back and come back and take a little nap and take a little rest and then go back. So it is not a problem. But if you don't change your goal, you are you are in a journey to achieve something great. Now this really emphasized my strategy. This was my strategy yesterday, and it is today, and I think it'll be my strategy tomorrow as well. I always challenge myself and move out of my comfort zone. In my next few slides, I'll show you how I did it and things like that, and exit at correct times in some places. And I take only positive things from many things. Even a tragedy happens, I will try to get some positives out of it, putting away all the negative things happening in that situation. Getting the ground level experience for me, actually, in my operations, I know from being a director or the founder of the company, as well as to if I have to plan some things, I know exactly the ground level work and what it takes. And it is important for us to know that as the entrepreneur, because then you value people and you will treat your employees in a different way if you know what it takes to deliver something in every single activity in your business. And being never missing an opportunity, I always grab any opportunity thrown at me, irrespective of whether I have time or not. I will try and make my time to, grab that opportunity. Being multi-skilled, investing on the development, like, the time and money both, and chase career development. Also volunteering for experience, which sometimes are very expensive if we try to pay and get that experience done. And lastly, building the brand. We need to, as an entrepreneur, need to build the brand around you and who you are. You are showing your face, actually speaking, it's your image, is your business. So it is an important thing, this brand building as well. So the challenge, moving out and ground level experience, and this actually started when I was as a assistant lecturer in the University of Colombo in the Department of Plant Science. And this opportunity actually was created by Professor Vijay Sundara from the Department of Plant Sciences. So there was this investor coming into the university with this proposal to, have some tissue culture done for avocado, bananas, to fill up all his, plantations. And there were a couple of people who have done tissue culture in the department, but no one, specialized in their projects for tissue culture didn't want to, take this on board. But Professor Vijay Sundara called me up for actually summoned me to his room and presented this to me and said, "Jayeni, I think you have the capacity to do it." And I was really shocked because often he doesn't talk a lot, but he was actually taking a long time to explain what the opportunity is and how I fit there, and really giving me a good, eye opener for me, something that I never seen in my eyes, that I can straight away go out and do something like that. And I had a chat to my dad, and he really, approved it. And I thought, okay, I will take this challenge. And I really did. I resigned from the University of Colombo, and what I got was 2 empty rooms. So I had no idea whatsoever how to start up this thing. I had no idea of where to purchase things. I had no idea of how to, start developing the protocols. And I had no access to tissue culture protocols. However, within 6 months, I was successful in this venture and started the laboratory, 2 rooms nicely fitted with all the laboratory chemicals, all the equipments were there. And I started doing my tissue culture first in a little fish tank, because I was really reluctant to spend a lot of money, because I really thought that, if I'm going to purchase a lot of expensive equipments, then if I fail in this thing, it'll be a big loss to this investor. So I didn't want to disappoint him, and I was really doing a good job in that little fish tank, and was pumping out plants in 10 months time. And it was a very really big learning curve for myself, and I established a lot of network through this job. But later on, within a couple of months, like say after about 1.5 years, I felt that there is no much development. The investor really wanted me to do banana, and he was not wanting to expand it. And I thought, like, okay, this is my next move. I need to move out. And that is where I took my next opportunity, which was presented to me again a startup company. This was one of the George Stewart group of companies, Seri Naturals Pvt Limited, which was owned by Dilip Jayavira and Varuni Amunigama. And I joined this company as a microbiologist. So at this stage, there was no factory, nothing whatsoever. They were at a stage where they were, building the management team and the group of, the chemist and microbiologist and procurement manager, factory manager, that level. So I really had a huge learning curve there. Starting up as a microbiologist there, I had to develop a microbiology lab for this company and set up all the processes and things like that for the quality assurance process of this cosmetic brand. However, just before we start the operations, the factory manager resigned. So my CEO at that time, Mr. Malik Pereira, called me into his office and said, Jayeni, our factory manager is going to leave, and we are going to start operations in a couple of weeks' time. And a team from China is going to come and commission the machinery in this factory. And we don't have anybody to put forward to become the factory manager. And would you take this opportunity? And I was again shocked. Again, my close contact is my dad. I always call him and say like, oh, this is what is presented to me. What do I do? And he said like, take it up. And I, without thinking twice, I took that opportunity as well. And I got trained for everything, or everything was commissioned in front of me. I knew how to dismantle all these equipments in this factory. I got the boiler certification, then how to operate the generators, boilers and compressors, and all these technical things like, was put on me, as well as how to operate the waste management system, water purification system. So within 5 months joining the company, all these 3 divisions were put under my sleeve. And I was really enjoying this journey, learning a lot of things. And then again, recruitment process. As a factory manager, I had to recruit all the factory staff, manage them, listen to their grievances, listen to their problems, do their, appraisals. Things like that was a good learning curve for my career altogether. And then invested on my career development. So I actually perceived a professional qualification in human resources because I really had the idea of starting off my own company. I started my professional qualification in human resource management in 2010. And then I also had a passion for mass communication and photography. In fact, my first job and my first earning was through photography. I earned quite a lot of money, doing some photographic shoots during that time, doing a lot of wedding coverages and things like that. And then I started my PhD after 6 years after my BSc. As women, we go through other things as well. We get married, we get carried away. That is what I said. Sometimes your pathway changes, but goal is still there, and you are, focusing on that. And I finished my PhD, or I started my PhD when I had a 2-year-old on my lap. Was a very difficult journey, and my PhD thesis was on micropropagation of avocado. Not going to tell a lot of details about it, but it was a question to answer and deliver really tangible industry applicable results within my PhD. And at the end of my PhD, I could actually develop the world's first tissue culture rootstock propagation system for avocados for the first time in the world. And this technology was commercialized in 2020. And then volunteering. I have done so much volunteering work solely because I was very selfish. I wanted to learn cheap, so without spending too much money. So it brings so much opportunity to you, extra skills to you, confidence to you when you do work on this volunteering journey. I had a lot of experience that I have not put in here, but bigger highlights is like using other people's money to learn is a really good thing, but you need to deliver. And you need to be confident in doing that. I had the opportunity to develop the world's first tissue culture facility commercial rootstock propagation for avocado, which is Anderson's Horticulture in New South Wales, Australia. So I was heavily involved in development of this lab and the commercialization strategy, working very close together with the university to keep the IP as an industry secret. And then I also developed a very state-of-the-art tissue culture facility, semi-commercial tissue culture facility for the University of Queensland. It is one of a kind, beautiful 1,000 square meter laboratory with beautiful flow, which suits research and development as well as pilot scale industry applications. And that experience for the future is to build my own empire. And that is how I take this opportunity there. And talking about building the brand and getting the network done, I took the chance wherever possible to travel around the world, present at conferences, showcase myself, showcase my capabilities, what I found, my research in various different platforms. I make it a point that I meet really big people in my industry and make personal connections and make sure that I know them personally, so that whenever I need to contact them, I get an opportunity to start a conversation. And it has been helping me in a very big way over the last 3 years. Whenever I get a question, whenever I have a problem, whenever I struggle, I have peers all around the world in my area of research who are passionate in the same thing that I'm passionate about, and I can ask questions and who are willing to help. And that only comes through your network. I was a real introvert when I was actually in the school times. I loved stage performances and things like that, but still for all, I was very reluctant to talk to strangers. But I had to push myself a lot to become an extrovert, go out there to talk to people, and then really, make connections and network for the future. So by 2019, where I was as an individual, was a scientist with a PhD in biotechnology, and land on a postdoc position with the University of Queensland. I had HR qualifications and senior managerial experience, industry experience and academia experience over 5 years. And I've developed commercial IP, commercialization, and things like that. Most importantly, I was migrated to Australia, designed about 6 tissue culture labs and microbiology labs, all together, for myself as well as for others. And then had a good network of international professionals in my field as well as outside my field. Most importantly, I was a full-time working mother with a dream to become an entrepreneur. And it didn't take a long time, but it took a decade to get there. And I think I was ready by then. So my first startup was in 2019, July. This is the block of land where I purchased in Padukka, and I looked at many different things before I land on this particular block. I looked at the area, I looked at the climate, I had to evaluate like what sort of people are around, what resources are there, things like that. And then I had to finance it all by myself. Luckily, my husband was very supportive, and he put all his efforts, all his money, all his time and commitment in order to make it a reality. And this is how I started, with a very, very small place, building from the scratch with a small lamina hood I still have in my lab. And I had to chip in, with plastering, painting, building the racks and things like that from the beginning, because it is a very costly operation, specifically when it comes to tissue culture, the chemicals and the infrastructure. And it is a brand new building that I built, like a 2-story building that I built for this purpose. So it was a costly operation, and all the hands were on the deck at the startup stage. And a lot of challenges came my way, and it was a constant innovation to solve real world problems. And I think that is what entrepreneurship is all about. And that is what the real entrepreneurs always do. Managing from distance was a huge challenge. At the inception, staff retention and turnover is again a huge challenge. And then the COVID hit in 2020 mid, which was like about an year after my operation, when the plants are ready to hit the market, then the COVID started and everything had to, close down. Managing was really, really challenging at that time. So many strategic decisions had to make. And plants in tissue culture will not stop grow. We'll have to, do something about it. And we came across that barrier as well. Then the now situation, again, the business environment and dynamics changes again with the economical situations in that particular country. And then, dynamics of that country changes, and the business environment changes. Then again, have to innovate something to survive. So that is what at the moment I am onto. And a lot of patience, persistence. STC Biotech Pvt Limited has come through to the third year. Luckily, we are surviving, and I do have a beautiful place to work, in a sense, like my staff to work, and we produce large number of plants for the local market and as well as for the international market. We do a lot of R&D projects for the national clients, for ornamental plants, fruit crops, development of tissue culture procedures for them, and then we do have some international projects for ornamental plants directly from Australia to work on in horticulture space. We do produce flowering plants, ornamental plants, fruits for the local industry. Also, we provide training opportunities for university students and training organizations, and provide consultancy services to tissue culture, agronomy, and other areas of expertise that we have. And we have grown from initially 2 people to now 5, actually 6 people from this year onwards. And then my next chapter is already started. So taking another step forward, I have established another couple of companies here in Australia, going to provide R&D services for horticulture sector globally, and mass production of plants for different specialized plants for different markets. Also, this will include some nursery operations and different consultancy services to uplift similar sort of industries where the technology transfer and technology expertise is required. So the new 2 companies are JNS Plant Biotech and STC Link Pty Limited. And I think I've come to the end of my presentation. I think I took longer than I thought, but I should actually say, if the success would never be the case, something is always achieved. I think I believe in this, and there is something that I always have to, that I can look back, and I will have something to share with many people, and also to be satisfied with. If I don't have anything such, at least I have a lesson learned. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jayeni. So we do have some questions. So before we go into the question session, let's applaud Jayeni for her excellent speech about entrepreneurship. Thank you, Jayeni. So the first question is, what are risk mitigation strategies at the beginning of your venture?
Right. So I think I explained a little bit. Risk mitigation factors, it is actually the market analysis and your strength. So as I was the sole, investor of my own company, I had to look into, lot of things before I start. For an example, I have no background in business setting up. I have my parents were not into any businesses. So it was really a, challenging thing. And I had to take so many things into consideration. I think that is why it took me 10 years to get there. Because I was actually trying to collect all these little things to strengthen myself so that I minimize my risk. So one of the things that I use to minimize risk is that I learned it from others. So as I said, my first, the project that I involved with, it gave me a lot of idea of what can go wrong, what sort of problems will arise and things like that. And that actually gave me a lot of confidence, and sort of made me aware how much money that I need to set this up and at what scale. So that is the strategy, main strategy I used to reduce the, risk in the venture at the beginning.
Thank you, Jayeni. So the next question is, you mentioned about 10 qualities of an entrepreneur. Doesn't a new entrepreneur also need to be careful about those qualities itself as well? Do we need a balance of those qualities? For example, impact of overconfidence in entrepreneurial behavior. Can you explain your thoughts on this? It's quite a lot.
I agree with that. Now, for an example, like if I take like overconfidence, like say if you're really confidence is good, but if you're overconfident and if you do not do your background check and market research, jumping into something completely brand new is a very risky thing. So those qualities are there, but those qualities are the, it's something like, that you find commonly in most of the entrepreneurs, and there should be balancing act in that particular qualities as well. Otherwise you will really end up in a bit of a jeopardy. It's really need a balancing sort of and I think it will naturally balance because knowledge and your experience. So that is why I always said that a good background check, a good market analysis, acquiring all those experiences from a lot of things. And if you look at those 10 qualities there, and there are within, like, the qualities within themselves have balancing qualities there. So if you are a constant learner, you will really read about things that you're passionate about, and you will, educate yourself about the, space that you're going to enter. So that is, there are some balancing qualities within those 10 qualities, I think will nicely balance out an individual who is like really willing to jump into this space.
So next question is, in our current workplaces and careers, teamwork is highly emphasized and promoted. At what point in your life as an entrepreneur you embraced the concept of teamwork, and did you or your business benefit from it?
Definitely. So it was a teamwork from the beginning. To be honest, even though it's a teamwork, as I mentioned earlier, it is really my idea, my thing, but I should have the capacity and the leadership to bring a little team together to execute it. For an example, and I think I'm a good example for that as well, because I am managing my business from overseas and I'm not there. And I manage that team, and I really see that teamwork environment and complementing strengths within the team. So every single time when I get somebody into my team, I always see something new that person can bring into the team, which is lacking in my existing team. So team environment and team building is a very important factor to me. The other thing that I always find is that sometimes when you operate teams or in a team environment, there are people who really perform high in a team and does not perform that well in the team. But it doesn't really mean that person is a poor performer. It is because sometimes the particular activity that we allocate to that person is not the really suitable job profile for the person. So I have come across many things like that when I was operating with my staff. So I always evaluate them, and I always talk to them a lot to learn and it is always the decisions for the major decisions really is a very inclusive thing. And I always encourage every team member to get together and discuss, and then execute whatever the decision. But the final decision maker will be me, but still for all, I encourage that the team contributes always, and make sure that the entire team feels that they are all inclusive, and then the respect the team environment in the organization. So I think, yes, it is very really important. And there is one more thing that we have to be cautious about building the team. So always a team has to be balanced. It should not be like, sometimes highly dependent on one individual or the other. And we really need to identify it from the beginning, especially at the initial phase of a company, because if a key person if a key person leaves that team, then it is going to be a big downfall for the entire team. So I always try to keep that balance, and be very aware. I'm very aware of like what really drives, and really taking job roles in sort of a rotation system sort of a thing, so that it will not affect the entire setting of the organization. And there have to be many strategies in managing it. Otherwise, yeah, we would love to see teamwork, but most of the time my experience is people is not there to stay with us forever. So we build really strong teams sometimes, but it really doesn't sometimes secure strategy really. So we have to be very careful when you are building teams. It has to be really balanced and strategically done.
Next question is, so in Sri Lanka today, we realize the importance of entrepreneurship. What can academic institutions like University of Colombo can do to advocate, facilitate, and promote entrepreneurship among students to prepare future entrepreneurs?
I think, so for an example, this is actually with my very recent experience participating into some of these entrepreneur workshops conducted by University of Queensland here in Australia. And that is all for the students at PhD levels. But taking something out of it, I would really like to compare myself at the time that I was studying and now the world has changed into great extent, and people have, or the students have a lot of access to so many things, so lot of research, lot of resources. One thing that the university can do is to really encourage industrial engagement, a program that where the students actually can be engaged. And sometimes when it comes to our final year projects, if that actually focus on industrial aspect, working with an industry partner, or trying to deliver some industry solutions and things like that, the students will get an opportunity to feel what is out there, and how can we really fit into that industry sort of areas. And once you get a little bit of experience and exposure in the industry, it is not really difficult to pave your way to an entrepreneurial career. Because what I feel is lacking is it's not really the ideas or anything like that, but the real learning that you get in an industrial setup, and what is the real business is, and what is the real struggle is. And we really don't tend to feel it in the university as a university students. Even when we do a lot of research in our final years, it needs to be for some purpose. And I know in some of our projects, they are trying to solve some real problems, but it is very rare that we get to engage with the industry directly through a project, which I see a huge difference when it comes to into Sri Lanka, and when I travel, and even in here in Australia. A lot of universities are directly engaged with the industries, and most of the time the undergraduate projects, like the honors projects and masters projects, are really linked to industry, and they are actually solving some of the bigger, small pieces of the bigger puzzle. So that is one of the strategies that university can take forward, try and link students to the industry, so that they will have a kind of an understanding and idea as to what is out there. And exactly that's what happened with me. If I never got a chance to experience that industry placement, I wouldn't be here today. If I am seen that particular sort of industry, I would be very reluctant to take steps towards that, because I have no idea about the entire supply chain. It was a great opportunity. I think there are certain things there in the university as well, and I was lucky to be part of that, one of those projects, or one of those opportunities. But doing more of it, rather than and I should really say this, it is the new era that in most of the universities, they do not really teach the fundamentals in the lecture halls. I have witnessed, and I have talked to so many lecturers here. Most of the university lecturers, they say that or they can Google it, they can find it from books. They have enormous resources of publications. They can read all the textbooks if they want to find the terminologies, find all the basic sciences. But what we really need to showcase the students, to ignite their ideas about problem solving, and what they teach in the lecture halls are actually their active research, so that the students get an idea of how scientists solve problems, not really the things are written in books. There are books that you can read and get the fundamental ideas, but what is hard to learn is how these tiny problems are solved, and how scientists solve these great problems with different new technologies and things like that, which are not available in books. And I think that is one of the things that can be presented to students to ignite their passion towards what can be done in industries, and make them feel a bit bit comfortable joining industry or stepping out to out as an entrepreneur.
So one question, Jayeni, and we are kind of running out of time. If you can answer these questions briefly, because
Sure.
we are kind of having a lot of questions coming in. So there aren't many entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. This is my next question. There aren't many entrepreneurs in science in Sri Lanka, and there is this mindset that one has to stick to academia if they pursue their higher studies in a science field. What are your thoughts on this?
And it is not only in Sri Lanka, it is in everywhere. And I see it here as well. I think in the University of Queensland and in my department, I'm the only one who's stepping out from the university as an entrepreneur and planning to have a full-time entrepreneur career. So it is not very very new to Sri Lanka, or it's not only in Sri Lanka, it is everywhere. And the reason for that is we are too passionate about science. I think the STEM careers are really, really passionate about their own thing, and they think that professionalism lies between those words like a doctor, engineer, professor, and things like that. And I think it's the lack of seeing the bigger picture and what you really can contribute to the world as an individual, as an entrepreneur. And if you see that, I think people will pursue that.
And the next question is, if you are willing to reveal, in your first experience as a startup, how long did it take to reach the break-even point compared to your original investments? Also, compared to academic life cycle of a job in industry is short. How fast is it in the industry? So let me rephrase that question. If you are willing to reveal, in your first experience as a startup, how long did it take to reach the break-even point compared to your original investments? Also, compared to academic life cycle of a job in industry is short. How fast is it in the industry?
Now, academic or whatever the job, we say, leave academic aside, like whatever the job, it is not going to, you're not going to invest anything, right? So it is always above the break even and you will be earning always. But when it comes to a startup or something like that, for my experience, I haven't yet come to the break even point, and I am very confident that I will break even by 5 years or before that, with my investment at the moment. And with the new strategies that I have implemented, I think it'll be much easier. In another year's time, it will be easy. And it doesn't need to be like, I don't want to say like, it'll take 5 years, 10 years, and it all depends on what your opportunity is. Sometimes you will be able to, if your investment is very small, and if I didn't actually want to purchase, or like, if I wanted to just rent a place and start my business, I would have break even by now. But I really didn't bother about it. I wanted much, because I know that this is going to be a long-term thing. So that is why I invested, and that is why it is going to take a bit more time to break even. And the second question was not very clear to me. What was it, Neranjake?
Hold on. Also, compared to academia, life cycle of a job in industry is short. How fast is it in the tissue culture industry?
Oh, okay. Now, tissue culture industry, it's a very, I would say a fast industry. And at the current situation, leave the current situation aside when you talk in the context of Sri Lanka. But it is a very, very, it is very fast growing. So over the last couple of years, the tissue culture industry or tissue culture related industries have boomed so much. And it is an ancient sort of like, say, conventional biotechnology industry, which started in 1950s sort of. But now it is a huge boom in that industry. So the return is very good, because you have, as I explained before, many different areas you can tap into. The thing that is lacking behind most of the tissue culture companies that I see all over the world, they are more into production. Very rarely you come across a company that provide research and development services, right? And the consultancies. And that, again, with your strengths, it has to be your strengths. And most of the time, research and development is not the major strength of the business. It is always like, formulations that have already been developed and, doing it in-house. But I think it is a very rewarding compared to a, say, academic career or another job. But if you're going to invest it from your own, finances, then of course you will need that time to build up your, investment. But otherwise, if you're looking for venture capitals and sort of angel investment or things like that, I think there is whole heap of opportunity. And for myself, like, a lot of people have approached me, willing to finance and willing to, tie hands for venture capitals and investments, which I am at the moment not considering. But yes, it is not comparatively, I would say it is much secure and much rewarding. Because however much you work, your salary is not going to be increased. Whether you are working for 8 hours or 10 hours, your salary is not going to be determined by that. But when you are an entrepreneur, if you work 2 hours and if you work 10 hours building the business and building links and bringing business to the company, it will increase your revenue. So it is, I think, much more rewarding than fixing yourself up for a monthly salary.
Thank you, Jayeni. So actually that question came from Dr. Neranjake, if you can recall. So, and he also sent his regards as well. He said that it was an excellent talk to Jayeni.
Thank you, Neranga. Thank you, Neranga.
So I think that's all the questions we can handle today. So let's give a warm applause to Jayeni for giving us that excellent talk again. And
thank you.
We'll give her a warm applause. Thank you, Jayeni.
Thank you so much.
So let's now to wind up today's talk. So I have to remind some information about our distinguished speaker series. This is the CUFSAA Distinguished Speaker Series. It's organized by the Speaker Series Subcommittee of CUFSAA of North America. CUFSAA stands for Colombo University Faculty of Science Alumni Association of North America, with the Faculty of Science, University of Colombo. If you would like to contact the subcommittee, please write to us at speaker-series@cufsaa.org. We are particularly interested in hearing from you with topics and speaker suggestions. Thank you. And to remind you of what is coming up, so the September talk on CUFSAA Speaker Series will be Professor David Hoskin, and October the tentative is Dr. Binod De Silva, and in November we have Professor Ranga Dias. And in to deliver the vote of thanks, I invite Dr. Hashendra Kathriarachchi. Dr. Kathriarachchi, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Neranjake. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are, madam.
Thank you, Jayeni. Yes, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our speaker today, Dr. Jayeni Hiti-Bandaralage, postdoctoral research fellow, Center for Horticulture Science, the University of Queensland, Australia. Thank you, Jayeni, for your excellent talk, as always, and enlightening us as well as our younger students and maybe future entrepreneurs. I'm truly proud of you, Jayeni, where you are today, and still I can remember you as a very dynamic student. Even you work with the BOTSOC and so many department activities. And I'm really proud and really nice to see you where you are today. And I extend my sincere gratitude to CUFSAA North America section, current president, secretary, and the present committee for organizing this series of talks, especially at this very difficult time, to encourage our younger undergraduates. So CUFSAA always support us in many different, numerous ways, and we appreciate your efforts. I'm gratitude to Dean, Science, Faculty of Science, and all the academic staff members who joined today, and special thanks to all the students who willingly participated to this event. Thank you, Jayeni, once again, and thank you for the committee who organized this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Kathriarachchi. So let me remind you again of our next speaker, who is Professor David Hosking from the Department of Pathology in Dalhousie University, Halifax, Canada. His talk will be on September 13th of 2022. His time will be announced soon. So let's wind up for today. And thank you all for attending the talk, the pleasant talk, and asking questions. It was great to see you all together. Thank you.